In my past life, I set free the mermaid my brother had captured, yet the mermaid believed my brother would keep his promise to care for her forever, and willingly beached herself to return to captivity. My brother, suffering from manic episodes, killed me in a fit of rage. She even had him dump my body into the sea as fish food. After being reborn, I resolved to watch coldly from the sidelines. I watched as my brother turned her into sashimi. My brother found a beached mermaid by the shore. The mermaid was stunningly beautiful, with deep blue eyes like the ocean that seemed to pull you into their depths, yet her nature remained utterly innocent. She would sing me the songs of her people at night, and sometimes hold my calloused hands, telling me I worked too hard. I couldn't bear to watch my brother kill her that day, so while he slept, I released her into the sea to send her home, yet she cried out with such piercing sorrow, when my brother came running at the sound. She leapt ashore to his side without hesitation, as resolute as a carp vaulting the dragon gate. 1. The mermaid returned to the aquarium my brother kept in the kitchen, but in his manic episode, he killed me, eager to make a good impression on my brother. The mermaid floated in the tank with her tiny fists clenched. Throw her into the sea for shark food. I told you I'm never going back to the ocean. Before the excruciating pain of my organs being shredded could fully fade, I realized I'd been reborn. My brother came back dragging an enormous fish tank, his face beaming with excitement, the container covered by a thick black cloth. Tao, guess what I caught this time? What is it? I knew it without guessing. It's that mermaid. My brother mysteriously drew all the curtains before unveiling the black cloth, revealing a dying mermaid lying beneath. Her hair flowed like seaweed, and her tail bore a clear blunt force wound. This is something no one in our town, perhaps the entire world, has ever seen before. My brother was so excited he seemed almost delirious. I understood what he meant. We grew up parentless in this borderland town, two kids with no means to support ourselves. Ostracism and isolation became our daily reality. No wonder he's thrilled. He's finally found something that'll make everyone see him in a new light. The mermaid awoke, blinking her luminous eyes at us in bewilderment. Who are you? I found you passed out on the beach and brought you here. I'm Kai. What's your name? Just like in our past life, my brother asked with a gentle smile playing on his lips. My name is Eloan. Eloan was too naive to distinguish between genuine kindness and human pretense. She believed him completely when he simply held her hand, called her beautiful, and promised to care for her forever. Back then, I adored Eloan too, showing her our human customs, telling her stories about our world. I even told her that my brother only kept her around to eat fish. There's no saving those hell-bent on destruction. I shouldn't have spoken up or thought I could save anyone. I still remember how Eloan immediately reported everything I said to my brother afterward. My brother was so furious he beat me up. That beating left me badly injured. I was bedridden for 2 days without eating. These days I can't be bothered with Eloan, just living the same routine as always. But all I can do is ignore her as much as possible. Our place is just too cramped. Eloan tried making conversation while eyeing the noodles in my bowl with curiosity. Tao, what are you eating? Is it good? In my past life I would have shared with her without hesitation, but now I just scooted away slightly, my tone frosty, nothing special. My aloofness did nothing to dampen Eloan's enthusiasm. She always tries to talk to me since my brother's rarely home. Whenever he returns, he brings her snacks and sometimes accessories like hair clips or necklaces. Eloan happily dolled herself up and even asked if I could buy her more makeup. I want Kai to see the prettier version of me. She spoke with coy hesitation. Is this how women act when they're in love, or is it just mermaids being like this? I turned her down, resolved to avoid any further interaction with her. Today my brother plucked a few of her scales, planning to show them off at the market, her face twisted in pain. Yet she let her brother pull it out, having gotten his way. Her brother wrapped his arms around her and kissed her forehead. Thank you, darling. You're the only one who truly understands me. Maybe one day we'll have a fairy tale wedding with fireworks lighting up the sky. Eloan's face was radiant with joy and happiness. I stood by as an extra in the background. My brother told Eloan that mermaid scales could fetch a fortune, so we'd all have food to eat. It was my idea. I insisted he pluck those scales. To my surprise, Eloan actually believed it. The way she looked at me turned icy. Her gullibility played right into my hands. Exactly as I'd anticipated, my brother and I barely scraped by doing odd jobs as adults, though we often got shortchanged. At least we didn't have to survive on scavenged vegetable scraps and leftovers. Later, we saved enough to qualify for overseas work, finally freeing us from constant hunger. He knew I'd disrupt his plans and develop sympathy for Eloan. He guessed wrong. I'll never play the bleeding heart fool again. I'll never forget how dead serious Eloan looked when she told her brother to throw me into the sea. At the marketplace, everyone was fascinated by the scales her brother had brought. A well-traveled man marveled at the aurora-colored fish scales in awe. What creature did you take these from? I've never seen any this large before. My brother relishes being the center of attention, with everyone listening intently to his words. Encountered it at sea. That beast was enormous, with a tail like a ship's sail. I focus on gutting the fish. I clean and dry the fish he catches. Then the town merchants collect them to sell wholesale. I've been gutting fish with a knife since I could walk, quick and clean, leaving nothing behind. My brother made sure Eloan peeked through the kitchen window to watch me work. Eloan scowled as I dispatched fish with single practice strokes. Barbaric. I straightened up and saw my brother's satisfied expression, feeling utterly speechless. Bro, there's no need for this. I couldn't care less whether she lives or dies. Of course my brother didn't believe me. He just chuckled without saying a word. Ever since Eloan saw me gutting fish, she's been keeping her guard up around me. Whenever I cook in the kitchen, she'd sink to the bottom of the aquarium and stare intently at my movements. The moment I pick up a knife, she opens her mouth, ready to call for my brother to stop me from murdering her. My brother often tells her bedtime stories, tucks her in, wakes her up, and they even feed each other. This bizarre human-fish relationship somehow mirrors marital bliss. But would Eloan still wear that blissful smile if she knew my brother was mentally drafting recipes? When I was selling dried fish, a local bully kept staring at me. Hey Tao, got something shady hidden at your place? The bully leered with a creepy grin. No, where'd you hear that? I instinctively denied it outright. The bully just gave me a knowing look without saying much. Even after being reborn, I still don't know how he picked up the trail. I only remember him breaking into my house late that night. To keep Eloan hidden, I stood guard at the kitchen doorway confronting the bully, nearly risking my life. Back then, Eloan was too busy burying herself in her brother's arms as he rushed home, while I sat in the living room bandaging the knife wound inflicted by the bully. I should have seen the signs back then. I won't stick my nose where it doesn't belong this time. That very night, the bully showed up just as expected. The brute constantly bullied people around town, relying on his hulking frame, with his uncle being the deputy mayor. Folks could do nothing but steer clear of him. The walls in my room are paper thin. I can hear his footsteps pacing in the living room. My brother's out fishing. His boat should have just docked by now. He'll be home in about 10 minutes. The thug ransacked every room in my house until he finally forced open the kitchen door. After a splashing sound in the water, I heard Eloan's wary voice. The bully looked both shocked and thrilled. Holy crap. It really is a mermaid. Are you for real? Get away. Don't touch me. Eloan shrieked, thrashing in the water with increasing frenzy. I lay motionless in my room, entertaining dark thoughts. If only he'd just get rid of that troublemaker Eloan right now. But my brother returned surprisingly fast, just in time to see the bully trying to drag Eloan away. In desperation, my brother grabbed the harpoon by the door and fought him, through the paper-thin door. I could hear Eloan crashing to the floor and the sickening sound of the sharp prongs piercing flesh. Eloan's initial terrified screams gradually faded into silence along with the entire surroundings. My brother panted heavily, sounding almost disbelieving. Is he dead? Eloan answered guiltily. Though my brother's tone was gentle, having lived with him day and night, I could detect the underlying savagery and excitement. I just saw your tail fin strike him and he died instantly. Is your caudal fin venomous? But my parents taught me not to use venom recklessly. Still, protecting you is what I must do. So mermaids are actually poisonous. Brother couldn't contain his excitement. Does that mean anyone who hurts you will get poisoned? Then I don't have to worry about your safety anymore. Exactly, my whole body is toxic. Even predators trying to eat me would die from poisoning. Unaware of her brother's unusual behavior, Eloan revealed her hidden trump card to him. She even volunteered that drinking her blood was the antidote. Then the two began their sweet, intimate moments together, tossing and turning in bed. I couldn't sleep knowing someone had died in my house, while also pondering what path to take next. My brother hasn't had much luck with his recent fishing trips. He tries to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor around Eloan, but secretly vents his frustration by smashing things. Behind his back, I quickly found a new job. There's a seafood shop at the market hiring staff. Too afraid to stay home, I'd come by every day. The moment the shop owner posted the hiring notice, I applied. I can fillet fish with effortless precision and handle all kinds of shellfish with practiced ease. The boss lady was quite pleased with me, praising how little trouble I caused. Given our past troubles with bullies, my brother was extremely cautious about Eloan's presence. Fortunately, our remote location meant few visitors. He had no time for me, completely preoccupied with spoiling Eloan, making trips to town just to buy her favorite cakes and biscuits. He wanted to fatten the fish, but the fish simply felt deeply loved. It's peak travel season now, with many out-of-towners vacationing by the sea. Apart from the distant clouds over the beach, there's not much scenery here, just budget travelers or those seeking off-the-beaten-path spots. I arrived even earlier than my already 2-hour advanced work schedule. A rush of customers had just arrived that morning, and the boss's wife was frantically cleaning fish when she spotted me, both surprised and delighted. "Tao, why are you here so early again today?" "My brother woke up, so I headed out," I said calmly, taking the knife from her hand. Only then did she find time to help the boss who'd been working the wok so hard it was smoking. She wiped the sweat from her brow, a flicker of compassion in her eyes. "Sigh, your brother really. You're his only flesh and blood, you'd think he'd take better care of you." I shook my head without responding. I rushed out the door as soon as my brother woke up, wanting to avoid any arguments. Not that I could win a fight against him anyway. As for Eloan, she quickly picked up on my brother's dejection and even offered to help lure prey from the sea for him. Of course, my brother wouldn't let her leave the kitchen fish tank. I made an extra $50 in tips today, which I left with the landlady along with most of my earnings from these past few days. The small portion I brought back was mostly used by my brother to buy things for Eloan. "Tao, what are you saving this money for?" The shopkeeper helped me put the money away and casually asked. "Anywhere would do, just leave this place. Go somewhere with real Tao trees. My mom gave me this name. I've only eaten Tao 3 times, sweet and crispy." The shop owner's wife turned away and wiped her eyes. When I got home, there were 2 strangers at my doorstep. They were town detectives. The local bully had been missing for ages without any leads, so his uncle, the deputy mayor, hired investigators who eventually traced the case to our family. Only people like them could afford to hire detectives. Their expressions suggested they hadn't spotted Eloan. When I entered, the aquarium only held a few seashells. After turning the house upside down without finding any clues, the detectives left. Several hours after their departure, my brother finally wheeled the aquarium to the beach behind our house. "Tao, help me push the cart. We need to bring Eloan back." I was surprised that my brother had Eloan temporarily return to the sea to evade the detectives. When we reached the shore, there was no sign of the mermaid. I didn't even need to glance sideways to know my brother must be furious right now. His fists were clenched, his entire body trembling uncontrollably. "Eloan, where are you?" The shoreline lay silent, answering him only with the occasional cresting wave. After searching the beach for an hour, the brother finally stopped and drove his fist into the sand. The yielding grains absorbed the blow with gentle resistance, leaving his knuckles flushed crimson. "Damn it, if I ever see her again, I'll make her pay," he growled through clenched teeth. Meanwhile, in the ocean's depths, Eloan seemed to sense something and angrily shook off her sister's hand. "I can feel it. Kai's looking for me. He must be frantic right now. Happy now that you've torn us apart." Her sister Maris took a deep breath. "We're not even the same species as humans. How could he possibly truly love you?" Eloan was too deeply in love to hear any of this. 3. She stood with her arms crossed, sulking. "That's exactly why I said your perspective is shallow, ignorant, and narrow-minded. Say whatever you want, but come home with me now. Don't you know Mom and Dad have been worried sick since you disappeared?" "I'm not going back." Eloan struggled desperately. "My whole life I've had to follow your orders. This time I choose for myself." Maris underestimated her resolve and nearly lost his grip on her. But Eloan was forcibly dragged back to her oceanic domain and imprisoned. Maris sighed helplessly at her sister, whose vision remained completely obscured within the cage. "Stay here and clear your head first. You can go back to see Mom and Dad when you've come to your senses. You're just jealous. I can feel how desperately Kai's searching for me right now. Look, he's even made me put on weight." Eloan ran her hands over her arms and rounded tailfin, lost in sweet reminiscence. Then Maris interrupted. "How do you know he doesn't want to eat you?" "He would never eat me." On the shore, my brother went home for a quick meal, then stubbornly came back out to keep searching. I could see his figure from the back window of our house. Suddenly, fireworks exploded across the night sky. Though called fireworks, they resembled dazzling auroras, rising from the sea into the heavens. their colors shifting for several mesmerizing seconds. My brother never even glanced up, scanning the shoreline with desperate intensity. Determined not to miss any chance of finding Aloan, Kai, a familiar voice rang out as Aloan unexpectedly leaped from the sea. Her brother immediately reached out to embrace her, kneeling on the shore with tears of joy. Was that fireworks you just set off, darling? They were breathtaking. Yes, I used my scales to create them. Magnificent, aren't they? Aloan flicked her fishtail with pride, noticing her damaged scales. Her brother anxiously carried her home in a hurry. When they returned, I overheard Aloan urging her brother to capture her sister too. It was Maris who took me away. Luckily I managed to escape. Who knows how long it would have been before we saw each other again. Aloan's eyes welled up with tears as she reached the painful part of her story. Who are you? Her brother patted her head with tender affection in his voice. All right, I'll make sure to bring her back to apologize to you. Just wait for me. I sat in the living room contemplating my departure. Aloan stayed in the kitchen fish tank as if it were her real home. Tao, your brother adores me. You're not jealous, are you? I nearly burst out laughing when I heard that. Jealous? I couldn't be happier about it. Aloan's intel was spot on. Her brother actually went and captured her sister too. Watching her sister suffer because of her, Aloan could only beam with pride at her partner's masterful fishing skills. See, Maris. I told you my beloved was extraordinary. Maris was too furious to speak. Her body covered in wounds, my brother gazed proudly at his creation before bossing me around again. Tao, go fetch a larger fish tank. The desire to leave struck me at that very moment. I'm done taking orders. It's time to follow my own voice. In the dead of night, I heard rhythmic tapping sounds, deliberately muffled to near silence. I'm hypersensitive to noise. The slightest unnatural sound keeps me wide awake, wrapping my robe around me. I found Maris in the living room tapping away with exaggerated caution. She bit her lip nervously when she noticed me. Could you help me? I govern this stretch of ocean. Without me, the fish would be easy prey. She trailed off, realizing her words contradicted human intentions. I studied her with curiosity. Apparently, not all mermaids are created equal. Maris seemed much more composed, still trying to reason with Aloan even while trapped in the fish tank. It's truly pitiful how far she's been dragged into this mess. Maris sank dejectedly to the bottom of the tank as I gently tapped the glass with my finger. I can save you, really, name your price. I can give you anything, moon pearls, gold, diamonds, or pearls. Maris perked up instantly, though she remembered to keep it low-key and avoided making a scene. I reached out my hand to her. Come on, I'll carry you to the shore. I carried Aloan to the beach like this before too. Though I had to drag her there against her will. She screamed and squirmed the whole way there. Maris was much more cooperative. Her cool body curled motionless in my arms, but I still managed to make some noise when we left. The sound of the door slamming woke Aloan. When she opened her eyes and saw me leaving with Maris, she immediately started frantically tapping on the fish tank. Kai, she's escaping. Kai, my brother's neurasthenia was quite severe. He woke up instantly from the commotion. He runs faster than me. Just before he could catch up, Maris and I dashed into the sea. The water was Maris' domain. With a gentle flick of her tail, she effortlessly propelled me back to the surface. My brother stood on the shore watching us from afar, his eyes dark and brooding. Tao, do you have a death wish? Then kill me. I know you've always wanted to. I was furious too, though I brought this on myself by being reckless and insisting on saving Aloan. But it was my own brother who struck the final blow. We stood in stalemate like that for a full half hour, until my brother finally turned back first. Under Maris' worried gaze, I eventually retreated as well. Before leaving, Maris kissed my forehead in gratitude. Thank you. I truly don't know how to repay you. Should you ever visit my stretch of the sea, I'll have every fish salute you in honor, don't mention it, no worries. He won't do anything to me, once my brother cools down. He won't take it out on me anymore. He still needs me to help cut the fish. Besides, my luggage is still at home. I want to take it with me. Alright, you're a good person. Our merfolk clan consents when one of us dies. You should leave this town as soon as possible. After all, my sister's been spoiled rotten by our parents. If anything happens to her, they'd raise hell. Maris looked at me with concern. So that's how it works. Serves them right. What goes around comes around. Only after watching me walk away did Maris finally turn and descend back into the ocean depths. When I returned, I saw my brother violently kicking the fish tank. How could you let your sister escape? Was this deliberate? You never intended for me to catch her, did you? Are you playing games with me? He glared at Eloan, gripping the edges of the fish tank with both hands. Barely restraining himself from lashing out, "I'm sorry, this is all my fault." Eloan burst into tears from fright. Seeing this, her brother pinched his own thigh again to suppress his rising temper. "It's not your fault. I'm the useless one. No, it's my fault. Go ahead and scold me if you want." Eloan threw herself into her brother's arms, weeping like a rain-soaked pear blossom, stroking her plump mermaid tail. Her brother's face twisted into a sickly smile. He noticed my return, called out to me, then shut the kitchen door. "Tao, I'm planning to invite the mayor over for a sashimi feast in a couple days. Everyone will be in awe of me then. Those who look down on us will have no choice but to worship us." My brother was acting rather unhinged, but he cut me off just as I tried to reason with him. "Do you remember when you were 8, burning with fever? I carried you on my back, begging the doctors to save you. They called us worthless trash who couldn't even catch a snapper, said you weren't worth saving. Then my first time fishing with them, their nets tangled, so they threw me overboard to face the raging waves, told them my life wasn't worth mourning. All I got in the end was one lousy sardine, our stolen home, the money they took, every humiliation we suffered, all because I was nobody." As he spoke, a light flickered in his eyes, one I'd never seen before. "Just wait, I'll make them eat their words soon enough." Seeing him stuck in his stubborn mindset, I tried to talk him out of it. "Bro, we've got the means now. Nobody can push us around anymore. We could totally start fresh somewhere else. Didn't you always say you wanted to try Tao's peaches and apricots? Their opinions don't mean a damn thing. Their narrow-mindedness is their own problem." My brother frowned as he listened to me. The fact he wasn't angry meant he was seriously considering my words. "A new place. Where could we possibly go? Plenty of options. Customers told me even shoe shining stands make good money where they're from." I'm utterly enchanted by the scenes those travelers described to me. Bone-dry pristine streets, ladies gliding past in high heels and sweeping gowns, accompanied by gentlemen of refined bearing. God knows which part Maris overheard from the kitchen. But she suddenly raised her voice in displeasure to argue with me. "Why would you tear Kai away from the only home he's ever known? That's completely wrong. Such cowardly thinking." I spent ages trying to reason with my brother, and just like that, Eloan's few words completely turned him to the dark side. "She's right, Tao, save your breath. Don't question my decisions anymore." As he spoke, he reverted to his old self. I never expected to change his mind with just a few words. But he's even more stubborn than I thought. "I won't bring it up again. The car is all set. I'm about to pull off my secret runaway plan. With my brother constantly around these days, sneaking my luggage out under his nose isn't easy. I'll have to take it slow, just moving small bits each day, stashing them with the shopkeeper's wife. She's decent enough, at least when I'm useful to her business." Brother was preparing a seafood feast at home, unaware she was the main course. Eloan kept asking if this was their wedding banquet. He lied and said yes. I gave it some thought. She spent every day happily talking to herself. They even unilaterally made peace with me. "Tao, we're family now. I apologize for how I treated you before." Whatever, I couldn't be bothered to engage with her. Eloan didn't mind my attitude, eagerly awaiting the day of the banquet with pure delight. These past few days, my brother had delivered invitations to every household in town. Sometimes when he was busy sharpening knives or preparing banquet tables, I'd help with the deliveries. "Tao, you and your brother are actually hosting a banquet. You two have really made something of yourselves. Is this banquet really just serving us 2 measly fish slices? We've tasted every kind of fish there is. Don't even think about pulling a fast one on us." Most of the crowd remained skeptical. I simply flashed a knowing smile. "My brother caught a creature none of you have ever seen before. Hardly anyone believes that." Quit the suspense. What could that kid possibly do? In all my years, there's no fish I haven't tasted, even if it's beneath them, who could turn down a free meal. So everyone accepted the invitation. A strange sense of relief washed over me. Those memories my brother mentioned were like thorns in my heart too. As a child, I cleaned fish and mended nets for a market vendor just to earn a meal. After working all day for him, he wouldn't even spare me a tin of food. Oh, he said nobody would back me up, that no one could handle these matters, and even threatened to gouge my eyes out if I kept glaring at him. Back home, I lied to my brother, telling him I'd found a nice beach and slept there all day. He didn't blame me, admitting he'd been slacking off too. We both chose to ignore each other's waterlogged, shriveled fingers. As for his mania, growing up always comes with losing something. I've already died once before. I feel no attachment to anything in this town. The day of the banquet arrived as scheduled. My brother said the fish scales he'd shown everyone earlier came from this catch, the main ingredient. Even the town mayor showed up. He was also curious about what kind of creature could have scales that large. If that fish of yours is really that big, we could skewer it for barbecue. Whatever's left can go to the homeless, the mayor said with a laugh. Everyone chimed in, praising him for his clever idea. The crowd fell completely silent when her brother wheeled Aloan out on the cart. She's absolutely stunning. Is this the legendary mermaid we've heard about? Someone was staring at her with curiosity. Yes, I'll be preparing sashimi for everyone next. Please keep your hands to yourselves. My brother immediately slapped away a curious hand reaching out. I was already in the departing car by then. 5. The innkeeper who arranged my ride held my hand with visible reluctance. You must come back to visit when you have time. Yeah, I'll be back. I finished with a smile, then turned away and sat in the car, my expression turning cold again. I'm never coming back, not ever returning to this godforsaken place. Under the expectant gazes of everyone, her brother methodically plucked Aloan's scales one by one with pliers. When the pain jolted her awake, she found herself strapped to the dining table. Surrounded by hungry eyes watching her every move, her beloved stood over her with a knife, carving into her flesh, the very knife she'd sharpened for him just days before. Kai, Aloan opened her mouth to call out, but found her voice completely failing her. The people waiting to eat fish noticed her movement. She's actually awake. Can she even speak? Her brother cast her an indifferent glance, all former tenderness gone. It's just a fish. How could it possibly talk? To prevent anyone from accidentally drinking Aloan's blood and being cured, her brother drained it first, though not completely drained. After losing most of her blood, she lacked the strength to struggle and collapsed weakly onto the table. The first few slices of meat were distributed to the town mayor. After feigning restraint while placing the fish slice in his mouth, his eyes lit up, tender and delicious. Give me a few more slices. His greedy demeanor left those who hadn't gotten any fish slices rather displeased. But since he was the town mayor, nobody dared to speak up. The elder brother smiled gently. No need to rush. I'll make sure everyone gets their fair share in turn. The poison must be evenly distributed, otherwise some would die while others survive. The mayor, thoroughly enjoying the meal, urged his secretary to fetch fine wine for everyone. The secretary rushed back without delay to get the wine. The eldest brother received the first cup, took a sip, and smiled in satisfaction. Our chef deserves the first toast. After the mayor spoke, everyone's attitude toward my brother changed completely. I always knew Kai would be the most successful of the bunch. He's the best sailor every time we go out. I always want him on my crew. They were saying things that completely contradicted their actions, but it didn't matter. They now treated my brother with deference, beyond them. Even more townsfolk had come running upon hearing the news. Aloan was by far the most despairing of all, drained of blood. She lacked the strength to resist yet couldn't die. She could only watch helplessly as she indirectly caused so many deaths. Her lover carved her flesh slice by slice with a knife, even consuming some himself, whether from rage or prolonged dehydration. Aloan's mind grew foggy, consumed by grief. Suddenly it dawned on her that she could still turn to her parents for help. If they summoned a tsunami to engulf the entire town, she'd regain her freedom of movement and could return home. The people at the table, and those standing by waiting to eat the fish, they all watched curiously as Aloan threw back her head and let out a piercing scream. They couldn't understand the mermaid's voice. The mayor watched Aloan's pained expression with growing fascination. She's actually crying. This fish can shed tears. Now Aloan truly understood fear. She finally realized how terribly wrong her actions were. Not only did she walk right into the trap herself, she nearly got her sister killed. Now that her sister has returned to the sea, she must have told their parents everything. They must be utterly disappointed in her. They won't come to save her now. Aloan lay on the table weeping faintly, her tears lending the fish meat an unexpected hint of flavor. Kai, could you share with us how you caught this mermaid? The older brother smiled with narrowed eyes. Sure, no problem. The sea was particularly rough that day. He spun a random tale, yet everyone at the table was completely captivated. With such an extraordinary experience, you really ought to write a book. Absolutely. This is simply incredible. The group chimed in with enthusiastic comments. His voice gradually trailed off as he spoke. The first to collapse was the town mayor, who had gorged on fish slices and downed copious amounts of liquor. Everyone just assumed he was drunk, laughing and teasing him about his low alcohol tolerance. Then, more and more people began dropping like flies. The massive dining table stood at our doorstep, in that seldom visited place, now littered with corpses. Eloan watched helplessly as her brother's face turned deathly pale. He wouldn't last much longer. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered to him, "Why?" Her brother gently stroked her cheek. "Why?" "Perhaps because killing you would benefit me more than marrying you ever could." Only bones remained where Eloan's fishtail had been. Trembling, she watched as her brother collapsed too. "Everyone is dead." Her head grew dizzier. She was dying too. My brother actually eavesdropped on my conversation with Maris. He knew a mermaid's death would trigger a tsunami, so he'd made peace with death. Tasting mermaid flesh before dying would make it worthwhile. The tsunami never came. Instead, there was a bizarre mermaid murder case. They discovered a table full of corpses, including a human torso with fish bones. Some suspected the massive fish skeleton had been stitched on. No, some believe it was a genuine mermaid. I traveled by bus to a landlocked southern city where the locals carried themselves with refined grace, their manners gentle and poised, a stark contrast to those I'd known. I started by selling newspapers, then flowers, and eventually saved enough to set up a fish stall in the market. My stall gained regular customers because I prepared the cleanest fish in the market. This pays way more than shark fishing by the shore. I thought the tsunami had already wiped out that coastal town. Year later, I finally got that call from the shop owner lady. "Tao, how's life treating you out there? Coming back for a visit?" I almost thought it was a ghost calling. After some casual conversation, I learned that everyone who ate the fish back then had died, including my brother. Those who didn't eat the fish survived, and the tsunami never happened. I made time to go back for a quick look. The shop has now doubled in size, and she's doing quite well. The town's population has dwindled by more than half, leaving abundant resources for every remaining soul. I also visited what used to be our family home with my brother. Now just ruins, though a few memorial tablets still remain. Upon closer inspection, I was surprised to find Eloan's among them, but I suspect it's because Eloan had once joyfully copied a marriage vow from the newspaper herself. 6. So the memorial tablet maker genuinely believed she was my brother's beloved. In a way, she got her wish fulfilled. After reading it, I prepared to take my leave. There's nothing left for me here. I've already started a brand new life. Soon I'll have saved enough for a house and car too. The end. Story 2. My sister has always been naturally kind-hearted, whereas I have always been seen as the bad seed. A heat wave was approaching, so we stockpiled supplies at home to avoid going out. When she saw a boy, who appeared to be around 7 or 8 years old, crying and asking for help, she decided to take him in. After all, we've prepared so much, one more person won't make a difference, especially since he's just a child. I warned her that the boy seemed unusually mature for his age and that things might not be as simple as they appear. I suggested we observe him a bit longer. She accused me of being cold-hearted by nature and let the boy into our house despite my concerns. Not only that, she convinced our mom to make me share a room with the boy. That night, the little boy, with ill intentions, climbed into my bed. I was violated, and yet my sister asked me to forgive and forget, and to marry him. She even locked me on a sun-drenched balcony with temperatures soaring over 60 degrees Celsius to force my compliance. In a fit of rage, I set fire to the house, killing everyone. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to a day before it all happened, looking at my unscathed sister, and I laughed. This time, I will show them what being a true bad seed means. "Eleanor, you're amazing for stockpiling so much," Aurora said. "Now even if the heat wave lasts a month as the officials predict, we won't have to worry." The pain of being engulfed in flames was still fresh, yet I could already hear my sister Aurora's voice. "Eleanor, go and prepare some more. The more supplies we have, the more people I can help." I stared blankly at Aurora in front of me. I was supposed to have died with her in the fire. Seeing no response from me, Aurora pushed me. "Are you listening?" I nodded and replied, "I heard you." The reality of the touch made me realize I had been reborn, and I was reborn to the day before any of the tragedy had occurred. Aurora kept talking. "That's right. I always said you need to control your temper and learn to be kind. It'll make you a better person." In my past life, I listened to her and our mom. I took out all my savings and stockpiled even more supplies when we already had enough. Soon after, the things I had desperately gathered were given away to others who hadn't managed to secure any by her. Seeing me motionless, she urged, "Hurry up, what are you standing there for?" I wiped the sweat from my forehead, licked my dry lips, and walked to the fridge to grab a cold Coke to quench the burning heat I felt. Then I looked at her and said, let's go together, used to bossing me around. Aurora was stunned by my suggestion. She quickly responded, it's so hot outside. Running around could kill you, and it's chaotic these days. I don't want to go. Besides, you're strong and experienced. If I went, wouldn't I just be in your way? So, it turns out the heat could kill, and they were well aware of it. At this time last year, the temperature had already soared to 46 degrees Celsius, yet they still didn't care and sent me out to gather more supplies. I smiled at my mom. An extra person could lend a hand. Besides, my sister is worried about the heat. She could just wear sun protection and carry an umbrella, right? Or Mom, why don't you come with me? Of course, my mom didn't want to go, and immediately looked at my sister. If your sister asks you to go, just go. It's good to help each other out. As I've grown older, I find it hard to endure such high temperatures. Is it only me who can stand it, while everyone else can't? With no other choice, my sister, looking defeated, stepped out of the house with me. In my previous life, my mother always favored my sister. I always thought it was because I wasn't trying hard enough or obedient enough. It wasn't until I was on my deathbed that I learned the real reason. It was all because of my dear sister. My sister, 3 years my senior, studies genetics. She claimed that her research with big data provided ample evidence that I was inherently evil. She told my mother about how I used to dissect frogs when I was young. Not only that, but any dead rats or cats found at home were also my doing. She brought up many cases she found, saying that people like me were born without emotions and had high IQs, which is why I seemed cold but did well in school. She warned that if not controlled, I might end up committing serious crimes. My mother believed her and always guarded against me. My sister claimed I had an emotional disorder and needed to follow her advice and do more good deeds. But what I realized in my second life was that all these good deeds were sacrifices made at my expense, and because of my sister's words, even when I was tortured to near death, there was not a hint of distress in my mother's eyes. Instead, she seemed relieved. Thankfully, fate gave me a second chance at life. This time, I'll show them what a true bad seed looks like. Let's say I asked my sister to gather supplies with me, but it was just an excuse. Why should I suffer alone in such high temperatures? Once we stepped outside, a wave of heat hit us. The scorching sensation made one want to jump right back into an air-conditioned home, but I knew I had to go out. If I missed today, the temperature would only continue to rise, eventually soaring above a terrifying 60 degrees Celsius. Once outside, I purposely sped up, leaving my sister behind and heading straight for the destination, though I blindly trusted them once. I wasn't foolish to the extreme. Extreme weather, along with high temperature warnings and abnormal magnetic fields, indicated a tough battle ahead, so, when initially stocking up on supplies, I stored most of them in a rented basement, leaving only some at home. In my previous life, I didn't have the chance to tell them before they betrayed me. With sufficient supplies, I no longer needed to scramble for more but went to buy a lithium chainsaw instead, while not as lethal as a dagger. It was enough to intimidate. Besides, I also bought several fruit knives and daggers for self-defense when necessary. Finally, I purchased a few hidden cameras. After gathering everything I needed into my backpack, I headed to the basement. In my past life, I found the basement cooler than an air-conditioned room when stocking up on supplies. Considering the current temperature of over 40 degrees Celsius, the basement was expected to be no more than 30 degrees. Back then, the basement, used by the landlord for storage, was too hot and exhausting, so I often rested there. Luckily, when cleaning it out, I found a large inflatable swimming pool measuring 3 centimeters by 175 centimeters by 58 centimeters. Being thrifty, I checked that the pool was in good condition and didn't throw it away. Now, it seemed the pool could serve as a reservoir. With this in mind, I began filling it with water. I knew that by the 10th day of the heat wave, water would become a major issue. After getting all my work done, I finally returned home, seeing me come back empty-handed, in stark contrast to my sister who had just returned from outside looking disheveled. My mother couldn't help but scold me again. She blamed me for leaving my sister out there. I sneered and retorted, who is the older sibling here? It's absurd that such a grown person could get lost. It just shows a lack of common sense. Hearing this, my sister rolled her eyes at me, just as she was about to argue back. Both my mom's and my phone started to vibrate. I opened the message from the homeowners group chat and saw that the group admin had posted about coordinating supplies. The reason our phones had vibrated was because the admin had specifically mentioned my mom and me. I knew that the real drama was about to begin. In my previous life, when the group admin asked everyone to log their stockpile of supplies, my sister didn't hesitate to list all the resources we had at home. 20 bags each of flour and rice weighing 20 kilos. Over 100 kilos of potatoes and cabbages, and a refrigerator stocked full of various meats, along with instant noodles and other ready meals. Our house was not only fully equipped but could sustain us for months without needing to go out. After the message was sent, the group exploded with envy. My sister, ever so generous, declared that anyone short on supplies could count on her. In no time, all 500 members of the group were praising her kindness and beauty. Because of this, my sister ended up giving away a large portion of our supplies, and because of that, we became easy targets in a den of wolves. When supplies later became scarce, our home was the first to be plundered by the neighbors. At this moment, overwhelmed by the heat, my sister slumped on the couch. Her phone had automatically shut down due to the high temperatures while she was out, so she was unaware of the group admin's mention. Since I hadn't been in the heat for too long, my phone was still functioning. Ignoring me, she grabbed the towel from my mom, who was wiping her sweat, and walked into the bathroom saying, "I'm going to take a shower, it's just too hot." Meanwhile, I took out my phone and started to log the supplies: 20 bags of 20-kilo rice, 20 bags of 20-kilo flour, 10 boxes of Baixiang instant noodles. When I, just like my sister in a previous life, unreservedly listed all the supplies we currently had at home. My sister had just finished her shower and came out of the bathroom. Upon turning on her phone, she saw the long text I had filled in on the group chat. Additionally, there were strings of exclamations like, "Holy crap, awesome, room 1304 is legendary." Seeing this, my sister's face turned sour. She threw her phone onto the sofa and loudly scolded me. "Eleanor, are you stupid?" With a smile still on my face after reading the messages, I looked at her, genuinely puzzled, and asked, "What's wrong?" My sister, now laughing in frustration, raised her voice and asked, "What's wrong? You're asking me what's wrong? And here I was, thinking you were smart, but then you go and do something this foolish. You just told them what we have stored. Doesn't that put us in danger? What if someone comes asking for supplies, or worse, breaks in to rob us?" I had asked him the same question in a past life, but how had my sister responded? She accused me of being selfish, saying the high temperatures wouldn't last long and that it wouldn't matter if we gave away the goods for free. In the end, even my mom was convinced by her and joined in the accusations. Now, it seems she was aware of these drawbacks all along, but only thought of them when someone else was in charge. So, I echoed the words she once said, starting to accuse her in return. "Sis, you've always told me to be helpful and honest. I'm just telling the truth here, and besides, everyone is inherently good. And the heat won't last forever. It's not as terrifying as you think. You always say that only those with a dark psyche think so ill of others. Don't tell me you're like that, sis." My sister's expression turned peculiar. She gave me a dismissive glance and murmured, "I was just speaking my mind. It's fine to be kind, but not foolish." She then joined the discussion in the group chat, ignoring me. By the end of the conversation, she had successfully taken credit for acquiring supplies. Receiving a barrage of compliments from the other residents in the group, immersed in the chorus of praises, my sister seemed to revel in it, but I knew what truly delighted her was yet to come. Just 3 days later, the temperature had soared from 46 degrees to 52.3 degrees. Many in the residents group complained that even the air conditioning was ineffective, and indeed, it was true. The air conditioner was running, but the air it blew felt hot, sometimes, due to voltage issues. The air conditioner wouldn't start at all. The only way to cool down was to take a cold shower. I wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, I was waiting for the right moment. Even at night, when everyone was asleep, I secretly installed a hidden camera in a discreet location. Today was the day the source of sin would be revealed. Soon, people in the group started mentioning my sister and my mom, claiming they were running out of supplies and seeking help. They were willing to pay for them. Without waiting for my sister to reply, I mimicked her previous tactics and responded directly, "Why talk of money? We're all neighbors here. And as the saying goes, a near neighbor is better than a distant cousin. If you're lacking anything, just come to my house. Everyone faces hard times. Come on over, we have plenty to spare." As soon as the message was sent, many residents claimed they were short on supplies, and I agreed to help each one. Seeing the messages, my sister stood up and scolded me. "Eleanor, are you out of your mind? giving things away for free just because they asked. I continued with an innocent look and asked her, "Didn't you say yesterday that we had plenty at home, and wasn't it you who said they were pitiful and that we should all stick together? Should we sell it at high prices instead?" "Sister, everyone's already so pitiable. Would it be too heartless to mark up prices?" While we were still arguing, someone knocked on the door. When the door opened, a swarm of people crowded out. You could tell how hot it was outside, just walking from their homes to ours. They were already drenched in sweat. Although my sister was visibly annoyed, seeing a few handsome residents among the crowd, she willingly helped out. For every person who came seeking help, she handed out a bag of rice and a bag of flour, and even shared some of the vegetables and fruits stored at home. After the crowd had left, I checked and found that just from this distribution, we had given away half of our supplies. More people continued to arrive, and my sister kept generously handing out supplies. Some of the older visitors even called her a living saint. Last time, it ended with just enough supplies at home to last 10 days. When the temperature hit 52.3 degrees, the door was knocked on again. I knew that the most crucial visitor had arrived, indeed, through the peephole. I saw the little boy standing at the door. The little boy was crying and knocking on the door, claiming he hadn't eaten for several days. He said his parents had gone out and never returned, and if no one took him in, he would die outside. But from the look in the little boy's eyes, I could tell right away that he was not a child, but a dwarf in disguise. At that moment I stopped. But what did my sister say, as she opened the door? She mocked me to our mother. "Mom, look. She's just naturally cold-hearted. Anyone who comes knocking must be from our building. What if they need help?" Not only did her words belittle me, but they also made the dwarf resent me, and he later took the opportunity to assault me. Now, seeing the little boy standing outside, I turned to ask my sister, "Sis, there's what looks like a 7 or 8-year-old boy outside. Should we open the door?" "A little boy?" My sister hesitated for a moment, then said, "Let's open it and see what's going on." As soon as the door opened, the little boy darted inside. The little boy was named Jonathan. I have to admit, he did look like a child, with the hands and feet of a young child and a head not as large as those of dwarfs I'd seen before, except for his eyes. There was really no sign of anything unusual. Once Jonathan was inside, my sister continued to radiate her maternal glow. She not only brought food but also prepared chilled cola. While my sister was in the bathroom, I whispered to Jonathan, "You can see my sister likes you. Don't worry, she'll definitely take you in." Sure enough, when my sister came out of the bathroom, she announced her decision to adopt the dwarf, having been told earlier that my sister liked him. Jonathan now looked at my sister with a different expression in his eyes. I knew that the upcoming drama would definitely be more interesting. Like in a past life, the topic of where Jonathan would sleep at night came up again. This time, I was the first to suggest, "Why don't we let Jonathan sleep with my sister, and I'll sleep in the same room as Mom?" Our home was a small 3-bedroom, and the smallest room, hardly 10 square meters, was originally my place. But after the heat wave and the start of hoarding supplies, it had turned into a storage room, crammed with all sorts of things, making it uninhabitable. Usually, my sister and I shared a room, but upon hearing this, my sister immediately frowned. "How can that be? Jonathan is still a boy." I interrupted her. "Sis, Jonathan is just a child. How can you judge a child with an adult's mindset? How filthy your thoughts are. Besides, Jonathan seems to really like you. He'd definitely be happy to sleep with you, right, Jonathan?" With my prior prompting, Jonathan immediately nodded, beginning to boast. "Yeah, I like Aurora's sister the best. She's beautiful and kind-hearted." Faced with the praise, my sister was indeed pleased and forgot her initial reluctance, readily agreeing. That night, I deliberately stayed up late. Around 2 in the morning, unusual noises began to come from my sister's room. One could imagine how my sister, still deep in sleep, was slowly taken advantage of by the dwarf lying beside her, and it was precisely because of the noise coming from my sister's bedroom that I clearly understood something. When I had called for help before, it wasn't that they hadn't heard, they had chosen to ignore it. Unlike me, my sister seemed to take great pleasure in the proceedings. Soon, her cries of alarm from the bedroom turned into sounds of mutual pleasure. Knowing that the dwarf had succeeded, I went to sleep with peace of mind. The next morning, I was awakened by my sister's cries for help. When my mother and I came out of the room, we saw my sister, disheveled, rushing out the door. Pointing at Jonathan, she sobbed to our mother, "Mom, he assaulted me. He's no child." Instantly, my mother's face turned pale. A panicking Jonathan fell to his knees with a thud, hitting himself and begging for forgiveness. Auntie, I know I was wrong. I admit I'm a disgrace. It wasn't intentional deception. The harsh circumstances forced my hand. If I hadn't done it, you wouldn't have taken me in, right? I'm willing to take responsibility for my actions. I truly care for Aurora. Hearing this, my sister's crying grew louder. I don't want you to take any responsibility, Mom. Call the police now. I want him in jail. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, drawing the attention of all three towards me. Scum, what are you laughing at? My sister, infuriated, lunged at me, but before she could hit me, I pushed her away. I'm laughing because you're being foolish, sister. It's over 50 degrees outside. Do you think calling the police will help? Besides, he already said he likes you, and it wasn't on purpose. You must like him too, otherwise why let him in? And you say he assaulted you. But why didn't I hear you cry for help last night? It seemed like you were enjoying it. My last remark made her face turn red up to her neck. She gritted her teeth and spat out, Eleanor. What nonsense are you spouting? Keep talking, and I'll tear your mouth apart. I tilted my head towards my mother. Mom, why not let them get married? It'd be helpful to have an extra hand around, especially with the heat wave persisting. Having a man in the house could be beneficial in case of emergencies. I threw their words right back at them. In my past life, they forced me into marrying Jonathan because they said the household needed a man. Now, it was my turn to act. My sister exploded in rage. Eleanor, have you lost your mind? I'm fully capable. And you expect me to marry a dwarf? I'm telling you, even if it kills me today, I will not. Before she could finish, I had already drawn a dagger and pressed it against her neck. This marriage has to happen. My mother, frantic with maternal love, screamed as I held the knife to my sister's neck. Eleanor, what are you doing? She's your sister. Yes, she is my sister, but what of it? In my previous life, the three of them forced me to comply. When I resisted, not only did they beat me, but they even tied me up and left me on an exposed balcony. I was scorched by the blazing temperatures, my skin peeling off, but they sat comfortably in air-conditioned rooms, eating chilled watermelon, enjoying the show. I looked at my mother and answered her earlier question. Of course, I'm trying to facilitate a good marriage. Brother-in-law, what are you waiting for? I slightly lifted my chin, signaling him to use the rope in the corner. Jonathan happily complied. In no time at all, I had tied my sister up securely. As for my mother, with a dagger in my possession, she dared not make a reckless move, only continuously crying and pleading for me not to treat my sister this way. I glanced at her emotionlessly and pushed my sister toward the balcony, even before opening the glass door to the balcony. The heat was already intense, then I opened the door and shoved her out forcefully. Since sister is unwilling, she can reflect on it outside. Maybe she'll come to her senses after calming down. My sister fell to the ground, screaming as the scorching hot tiles burned her. She then crawled to a shadow away from the sunlight, continuously cursing under her breath. Meanwhile, I closed the glass door, took a chilled watermelon from the fridge, and enjoyed the spectacle while eating it. My mom, intimidated by the dagger in my hand, tried to approach. But before she could touch the glass, I stopped her. Until she gives in, whoever opens the door, I will throw them out, including you, Mom. My mother's raised hand could only sheepishly retract at that moment. Seeing no hope left, Aurora quickly shifted from cursing to begging. Eleanor, please let me in. It's too hot outside. I could die from this. I agree to marry. Isn't that enough? Let me in. Please let me in. I glanced at the time and clicked my tongue. So useless. Can't even last 20 minutes. You should know that in a past life, I had to endure an hour outside. At that moment, my sister was dragged in like a dead dog. She lay limp as mud, her body soaked with sweat, cheeks flushed red, continuously mumbling, "Water, I need water. I'm dying from the heat." Jonathan lecherously eyed my sister, his gaze lingering over her body, accentuated by the sweat-soaked clothes. Realizing this, I said, "Brother-in-law, since my sister feels hot, please help her to the washroom for a cool shower." My mother seemed to want to say something but was silenced by a look from me. All she could do was watch helplessly as Jonathan took my sister away. As for what would happen inside, I think both my mother and I understood better than anyone. After this ordeal, my sister indeed became more subdued. I knew she wouldn't let things go easily. Since the deed was already done, it was time for me to leave. The consequences should be borne by them alone. That evening, after dinner, I took precautions and left the house under the pretext of finding supplies. As I expected, the basement remained cool. As soon as I entered, the heat on me was automatically dispelled, everything ready. The remaining time was, of course, for enjoying the drama unfold, turning on the surveillance. I saw my sister and mother no longer restrained. They opened the fridge and indulged in the cold beverages inside. Eventually, my sister, as if remembering something, secured the door with several locks. My mother exclaimed in shock, "You've locked the door. What about when your sister comes back?" My sister coldly replied, "Come back? Did you forget what she did to me? Should we let someone like her come back to kill us?" My mother paused, seemingly pondering over this question. My sister persisted in dissuading her. "Mom, you've seen the news. So far, thousands of people have died from the heat. Even if one more dies, it wouldn't be our fault. Look, the temperature is almost reaching 60 degrees now. Besides, you've seen the food situation at home. If there's one less person, it could let us hold out for a bit longer." Mom didn't reply, which was taken as her consent. To me, all this was irrelevant. After all, in my previous life, I had already seen through their true colors. That night, I didn't rush back home, and neither of them sent me any messages or called. It wasn't until the afternoon of the third day, when they noticed that the water supply at home was cut off, that they remembered to send me a message. "Eleanor, how are you? You've been out for so long. Why haven't you come back yet? Did something happen? The water's cut off at home, and we don't know when it will be restored. If you can think of a way, try to get some water back home." Mom sat in a chair, staring at her phone with a complex expression. My sister scoffed coldly, "Don't worry about her. She's probably dead outside. Better off dead. It's so annoying. The temperature keeps rising, and now the water's stopped too. We can't even bathe and everything feels sticky." I didn't reply to the message. Instead, I was drinking chilled cola, enjoying the air conditioning, and eating hot pot, watching the scene on my phone. I really wanted to show them how comfortable my life was now, but the time wasn't right. I turned off the phone and continued to enjoy my hot pot, occasionally checking messages in the community group. Some were glad they had stored water in advance, others regretted not having stored water at home. There were also sighs about people who chose to end their lives due to the lack of supplies, only a few responses, and the number of people replying was decreasing every day. 2 days later, my sister and the others couldn't hold out any longer. They hadn't stored water in advance, only having some in the bathtub and a large fish tank at home, which still impacted their daily lives. Most importantly, their food supplies were also diminishing. Finally, my sister couldn't stand it anymore and dialed my number. To her surprise, I answered the phone after just a few rings. Hearing my voice, the first thing she asked was, "Eleanor, you're still alive?" I took a big gulp of chilled cola and responded with a nonchalant, What else? Can a dead person answer the phone?" Hearing the sound of my swallowing, she immediately asked, "Where are you? Are you drinking water? Come back soon. The water's stopped at home, and we're all going to die of thirst." I looked around. The small basement was like a little supermarket, one wall filled with food, snacks, and drinks. I then said, "I'm in a safe place. Not drinking water, I'm drinking chilled cola. As for coming home, I can't make it. You know, it's over 60 degrees outside, and stepping out recklessly would kill me from the heat." My sister, not hearing my last sentence, asked through gritted teeth, "You're drinking chilled cola. Where did you get the cola?" "I knew it," I accused. "You said you were going out to find supplies that day, but you were actually just hiding, weren't you?" I responded with a smile. "Correct answer. But there's no prize for you, by the way. I've got not only chilled Coke here but also plenty of water. Surviving a month, absolutely no problem." My words seemed to have struck a nerve with my sister. She screamed, "Eleanor, where on earth are you? You better tell us your location, or Mom and I will never forgive you." I feigned fear in my reply. "I'm so scared. What should I do, sister, with you talking like that? I'm even more afraid to tell you my location. What if you come and kill me?" Mom grabbed the phone from her and tried to persuade me gently, "Eleanor, we're really running out of water at home. Your sister and we've even resorted to drinking the water from the fish tank. If this continues, we'll either die of starvation or thirst." "Mom knows you're still a kind-hearted child, right?" I interrupted her. "No, you're wrong. I'm just as bad as my sister said. Born bad. How could a bad seed possibly save you? You say you're running out of water. Well, it doesn't matter. You could always drink urine." Haha, I laughed loudly. But as I did, tears uncontrollably started to fall. Watching them descend into hell wasn't as satisfying as I had imagined, but I was certain this was the last time I'd be so weak. After laughing, I hung up the phone and, in one go, blocked all their contacts. I watched through the surveillance as they became frantic, yelling and cursing. Eventually, they collapsed from exhaustion due to conserving their energy. But the punishment was far from over. There were devils around them, and more were on their way. People in the group began to stir, resorting to all sorts of tricks for water and food. Some traded themselves for a piece of bread and a bottle of water. There were even suggestions in the residents' group chat that, in extreme water shortages, one could consider other sources given the high water content in the human body. As for my sister, she became another version of me from a past life. Jonathan came with a dagger, threatening her to use her phone to send a message in the residents' group, offering herself in exchange for a bottle of water and a piece of bread. Initially, my sister refused, but after being beaten by Jonathan, she had no choice but to comply. Men in the building began to frequently visit my sister's room, paying with just a bottle of water or a piece of bread. I watched this scene with cold eyes. I had been through all this in a past life. Though the person was a dwarf, he was surprisingly strong and agile, and with the help of Mom and my sister, I stood no chance against him. Those men abused me at will, and all I could do was silently endure, barely scraping together enough supplies to survive, even selling myself. I could only obtain just enough to keep alive. This life, it was finally her turn to endure it all. This scene did not last long. After just 5 more days, people stopped going out to exchange supplies with my sister. Some were unwilling to risk the extreme heat, and many more were simply running out of food and water. When they couldn't hold on any longer, Jonathan turned his attention back to my sister. He held a dagger to her, instructing her to go out and find supplies, or to find me directly for help. Left with no other choice, my sister reluctantly agreed. Who would have thought that within less than 5 minutes of stepping out the door, there was already frantic banging and heart-wrenching cries to open it. When Jonathan opened the door, his sister had already been sunburnt to the point where her skin was peeling, and her face was as red as a boiled shrimp. Seeing that she had returned empty-handed, Jonathan pulled out his belt and mercilessly beat her. When their mother tried to intervene, Jonathan stabbed her in the neck's main artery with the dagger in his hand. Almost the moment the dagger was pulled out, blood sprayed everywhere. Yet, Jonathan didn't panic. Instead, his eyes revealed a sense of delight. He quickly began to catch the blood flowing from his mother, his face alight with excitement. I think my sister must have gone mad too. After being scolded by Jonathan, she quickly grabbed a stainless steel bowl to collect our mother's blood. The two of them, looking at a large bowl full of blood, laughed more joyously than ever before. The scene that followed was too gruesome, and I didn't have the courage to watch. When I turned the surveillance back on, my mother's body was nowhere to be found, and the room had been cleaned. They lasted another 5 days, and when I turned on the surveillance on the 6th day, my sister too lay dead on the ground, like our mother. She died with her eyes wide open, as if in disbelief of what she saw. As for Jonathan, still holding the bowl, his eyes were red and filled with greed. Ironically, just after he had done everything, the sound of rushing water came from the bathroom faucet. The water had come back, and just like that, my sister had lost her life in vain. Watching her pale, unblinking face on the surveillance, as aggressive in her previous life and now two completely different people. Back then, she locked me on the balcony and whipped me fiercely, barely alive. I asked the question that had always puzzled me. She told me with a laugh, "Who made you smarter? Who made you better than me in everything since childhood? Only by your death can I truly surpass you. Now, dying like this, you got what you deserved." Now, she is also dead. Unfortunately, compared to my previous death, her way of dying was much more merciful. The extreme heat eventually lasted a full 2 months. During these 2 months, the news reported daily on the death toll and temperature. By the end, the death toll had shockingly reached tens of thousands, but I knew that might still be an underestimate. After all, many bodies lay undiscovered in unknown corners. 2 months later, the temperature gradually started to drop, returning to the normal summer temperature of 40 degrees after half a month. People gradually began to venture outside, and after nearly 3 months of staying indoors, I too was ready to step out and embrace a new beginning, but for some reason, I felt uneasy about leaving the house. After much hesitation, I turned on the surveillance again. The room was empty, and just when I thought Jonathan had also gone out, a figure staggered out from the direction of the bedroom. It was Jonathan. His walk was not like that of a normal person. Upon closer inspection, his skin was grayish-white, his limbs stiff, and his eyes lifeless. Could this be a zombie? This discovery startled me. At the same time, a message popped up on my phone. Citizens, please be aware, an emergency notice has been issued for our city due to an unidentified virus outbreak. Infected individuals will exhibit symptoms similar to rabies, and the contagion rate is extremely high. Please do not go out unless necessary. If you encounter anyone infected or scratched, keep your distance and contact the police immediately. Just after reading the message, a sudden bang came from the door. I walked to the door and peered through the peephole. Seeing a figure staggering forward, the bang sound was due to him walking unsteadily and bumping into the door. Looking at the materials I had prepared earlier in the basement to make weapons, I sighed deeply. A new world was coming.